All right. We good? We good?
Yeah. Oh, we good.
All right, check. All right.
Check. 1, 2. Whenever you're ready.
And action. Off we go. Welcome to Here's Your Freaking Podcast with the Jason Lee and Clark Show. Always thank you for taking time out of your day to take a little gobble, a little nibble off of our pint-sized podcast, our commute-sized podcast, I guess is what we call it. If you're new to the podcast, not safe for work, not safe for kids. So if you're used to the terrestrial show, this is going to be a little bit different. This is where we throw all the stuff that we don't know how to shine up for terrestrial radio, and we do it here, including. What are we getting ready to step into the octagon?
No,
What is
no,
this?
hang on. Let me change. That's distracting.
Fucking hard.
There we go.
We'll talk about a new sex survey that will depress the shit out of everyone. This is insane. This is horribly, horribly sad how uncomfortable our sex lives has become. We've got a wild swinger story. We'll talk about a hair loss drug that is causing problems with people's penises. When I say people, I mean men. And then I love when these two words are put together, strung together. Rampant masturbation. One Seattle neighborhood is having a problem
I see you knew me when I was 13.
with rampant masturbation. We'll get to that as well. Also, we decided last week, as a joke, because we both showed up for podcast day and we had on black graphic t-shirts, I said, what is this, black graphic t-shirt day? And somebody suggested, hey, why don't you turn the podcast, since you're live streaming it now, turn it into a
Themes.
yeah, turn it into a theme. So this week you said, let's do hockey jerseys. I said, okay, we can do hockey jerseys. So,
I'm wearing a Bob Probert jersey.
okay,
Big fan of the man's fighting and cocaine use.
okay. What's his last name?
Probert?
Oh, it's not pervert.
No.
Okay.
No.
My jersey actually has a fairly long story behind it. It's not for an actual team, but this jersey, 100 years ago, I used to collect hockey jerseys. Like, hockey jerseys were the only fucking thing that I wore. Like, there's a 2-year stretch in my life where every photo
Of all the
was a big fucking obnoxious hockey jersey.
of all the jerseys you could collect, you picked the most expensive one.
I think my baseball jerseys cost a lot more.
Hockey sweaters are expensive.
At the time, I think they were maybe like $50 or $55.
Oh.
I don't remember how much they were, but I know that I paid a lot more for my baseball jerseys because I made sure that they all had the name on the back or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So that'll cost you more. Anyway, so I collected hockey jerseys. So I don't know. I probably had 30 or 40, and it's no joke, man. Every stupid picture that I have is me in a big dumb hockey jersey.
All right.
I'm like, yeah, whatever. So anyway, so this jersey isn't for an actual team. This jersey was given to me by, I'll give him plugs too, a good friend of mine by the name of Shane Tassert. At the time, he was in a band called Best of Seven, and then his new band is called the Hot Summers. It's him and a guy by the name of Mick Sweda from the Bullet Boys.
Okay.
So he gave me this jersey. He got this jersey.
Did he mean Joe greet it to you like, here, kid?
He's like, hey, take this. But no, he knew that I collected hockey jerseys. He goes, hey, I got a hockey jersey for you. And this hockey jersey was actually in the movie Stay Tuned, starring John Ritter, Eugene Levy, and Pam Dauber from Mork and Mindy. And it's a movie where
I'm looking at it. You're right. Pam Dauber, John Ritter.
John Ritter gets sucked.
1992.
Yeah, he gets sucked into the television, and then he becomes a part of all these television shows, like these weird, slightly askew television shows
Oh,
and movies.
Rooney from Ferris Bueller's in that movie.
Right. This is before he went to jail for whatever pervert stuff he had going on.
Taking pictures of boys.
Right. And so at some point during the movie, he has to play the Devil's hockey team. So it's like Satan and like two of Satan's dudes. And they have, he has to get out there and skate against them. Well, one of Satan's dudes was wearing this jersey. This is the actual jersey that's in the movie. And so he said, I don't know if I'm going to wear that obnoxious thing anymore. Here, you take this. And so that's how he ended up with this jersey.
Captain Lou Albano was in that movie.
Get out of here. The guy with the rubber band in his cheek.
Yeah.
It's a fine movie. I remember seeing the movie, before I got the jersey. So when I got the jersey, he was like, hey, this isn't that movie, stay tuned. I was like, you mean the John Ritter jam? And he said, yeah. And I said, cool. So that's how this jersey came about.
So what do you think that's worth?
A couple bucks? I don't know. I don't think it's worth anything.
Nothing.
I don't think it's worth anything. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, he also said at one point in time, there's 3 jerseys in the movie. And then at one point in time, he owned like 2 out of 3 of them that he had found, because the band was from Los Angeles, so
Okay.
I mean, they were from Hollywood. So you go to those prop stores when you're in Hollywood, and they got tons of cool shit from movies. Like a lot of wardrobe and stuff winds up in these stores, and they've got a couple of them in Hollywood, and you can go and dig around, and each little name tag will tell you where what movie it's from, and so if you have a favorite movie, you can find dumb stuff in there from that movie a lot of times.
Our Gibby says, that's where I recognize that jersey from.
He's a big John Ritter fan from way back, from what I understand. I know, I made that up. The funniest part of the movie is right at the very end when he's hopping through all these television shows. At the end, he ends up on Three's Company. And he's like, looks at the camera, he's like, oh! All right, where do we start for the podcast here today? Let's start with, again, he's nude, and anytime exposure of sexual organs ends up on your police report, it's going to be difficult for you to find a job. 56-year-old dude in Florida has been arrested. We laughed about this on the terrestrial show. He was wearing a t-shirt and no pants. And when police asked him what his name was, he said, my name is Charles Dickens, the author of A Christmas Carol. Police later found out what his real name was. It wasn't Charles Dickens. It was actually Vincent Conroy. He was carrying an open bottle of booze, which I guess, I didn't know this, that's against the law in Florida.
It's always funny.
I'm shocked.
You
The
find
fucking
out-
behavior that goes on down there, and you can't carry around an open drink.
They don't have open intox or legal weed of all places.
He got into trouble for showing the exposure of sexual organs and for lying about his name. He spent the day in jail, and then the next day, the judge let him go. And he didn't have to pay bail or anything. They're like, all right, we got a guy, go. And they just let him go.
For open intox and no pants?
Mm-hmm. With his dong swinging and everything.
Wow.
All right, let's get the sad part out of the way. This is unbelievable, man. The American, unbelievable and unbelievably funny. The American Sexual Health Association, in partnership with the Men's Health Network and Pfizer, are highlighting the gap between people's beliefs and the importance of sex and their avoidance of addressing sex issues. If there's one, if you know
So
anything about the
they're trying to teach us it's very important, but talking about it is also very important.
right, if you know anything about the podcast or the radio show, Dirty Old Fat Kid is a frequent guest on both, and he says the most important thing that you can have in a sexual relationship is what?
Trust.
Communication.
He also sent me a DM over the weekend, and I forgot to mention it to you, that he said that he was recently north of Chicago and went to an adult pet show where it's people dressed up in animal costumes behaving like they're competing in an animal show, like a pageant,
Right.
and then they have sex.
Okay, the second part sounds fun.
Yeah.
That first part, especially the part where like when you see him and they like spread the dog's legs and they lift up his tail and they look at his bits, that part would suck, and I wouldn't want that. But I think the sex at the end would be pretty fun.
You're like, oh, this dog has lady bits.
Yeah. They're like, wow, look at the red rocket on this guy. I'm like, whoa, hey, chill out, man. But he always says communication is always the key.
Mm-hmm.
So how often and how well are we communicating?
Not well.
Poorly. The answer is poorly.
I think the best I could do is, do you like that? Is that good for you?
If there's a problem sexually in your house, do you bring it up? The
No.
answer is always no.
No, my mother-in-law lives with us. When am I
Even-
going to bring it up?
Even if your mother-in-law ran out to get milk or cigarettes, would you bring it up?
No. Well, it depends on what the problem is.
Is it the mother-in-law down the hallway? Yeah, you would bring that up.
If the problem is I have crossed sexually some sort of line, I was told once to tone my language down.
So, most of us will not talk about our sex lives, even with our partner. Now, a majority of Americans believe that your sex life influences how happy you are. Most of us agree with that, right?
Yeah.
Study after study confirms the more sex you have, the better mood that you're in. And I think they said twice a week is great. That's, we'll put you at your running your hottest. 64% of us believe that our sex life influences our overall satisfaction with our life. How happy are you in life? The more you're getting sex, the happier you are, right?
Well, yeah, because if you're doing well everywhere else but you're not getting laid, what are you going to focus on?
Well,
Why am I not getting laid?
this is why I keep hammering this number. 64% of us believe that our sex life influences our overall satisfaction with life. But only 38%, 1 out of 3 of us, thereabouts, are satisfied with our sex lives. That means 2 out of 3 of us aren't happy about our sex lives.
Bummer.
So if you're not happy about something, what do you got to do? Well, you got to make your voice heard, right?
Excuse me!
Most-
It would go miles around here if we could fornicate a little more often.
This is crazy.
What are you supposed to do? Bring it up and say, look, this is not cutting the mustard.
I'll ask you this. What are the chances that you would bring up your sex life to your wife? It depends on what it is, but I guess probably 50-50.
Yeah.
There might be regular stuff that we can talk about. Then there might be some weird shit that I don't want to mention. Just happen to maybe she stumbles into it someday and says, hey, you know what I think would be neat? It's never going to happen, but you always hold out hope that it could happen, that your partner one day will be driving home and have this epiphany and go, oh, that sounds fun. I should bring this up at dinner tonight. So you're about 50-50 when it comes to conversations. What are the chances of you bringing up something from your sex life with your doctor?
Oh,
0, Jerry. It's 0.
I would have to, I don't know.
With the exception of needing Viagra. We'll set that to the side.
What else would you bring up to with your doctor?
I don't know. I have no idea. But we'll set the Viagra aside
Look, I
because
can't get aroused unless I'm crying. What is the deal?
or someone's crying. There has to be crying.
Can I hear someone crying in the next room?
I can't do it unless I'm suffering from something.
Doctor, I can't finish unless I get a high heel jammed in my butthole.
Congratulations to 1 out of 4 of us who wouldn't have a problem talking to our doctors about sex.
My doctor, I have a lady doctor.
Mm-hmm. Oh, woman doctor!
Well, I mean, what am I supposed to say?
Everything is fine with essential oils.
Hey, what am I supposed to do? Like, like, you know. I mean, she's hot and blonde. What am I going to say?
Fewer than 1 in 4 couples.
I saw your boobs and it got me thinking.
That reminded me. Fewer than 1 in 4 couples face sexual health issues, and they feel like they can actually be honest with their partners about their sex life. So 3 out of 4 of us don't think that we can be honest. You can dance around it a little bit, blur the lines a little bit, but as far as being honest and talking about it, only 1 out of 4 of us can do it.
I'm
And that
addicted.
number still sounds high to me.
I'm addicted to Climax control spray.
Men and women have differing priorities when it comes to sex. For women, what's their priority? I thought this was everyone's priority.
Finishing.
Yeah, achieving an orgasm. When it comes to priorities, women, 28%, number 1 answer, achieving an orgasm. 19% of men say the same thing. I figured that'd probably be 100%, but okay, I guess I'm not good at mathing.
Nice generosity.
The second most important thing to a woman from sex is what?
Intimacy, physical closeness, emotional closeness.
Emotional bonding. 32% of women versus 20% of dudes. General enjoyment for sex is number 3. Men tend to focus mostly on the physical ability to have sex,
Well, I mean, that's a big. You need to have it.
followed by what's number 2? What do men focus on second most? Good luck, buddy. that was your clue. Good luck, buddy.
Her pleasure.
Oh God, no. Oh, woman doctor.
She was a lady doctor.
Good luck, buddy. Being able to experiment is number 2.
Yeah, okay.
By the way,
You know, I heard on these streets these kids are trying something new.
only 12% of women only 12% of women are focused on being able to experiment. 4 out of 10 men.
Did you explain to her that that's how we achieve anything in society is through experimentation? You got to figure out what works and what doesn't work. That's how science did everything.
Trial and error.
Yeah. I mean, hey, even an error can be pretty fun.
You know, I have a hypothesis. More than a third of Americans surveyed. Oh, this is the sad part. Oh, all right. I knew there was something super sad in here. A third of those surveyed are resigned to the worst sex life in 20 years.
Yikes.
1 out of 3 of us will say this is the worst sex. Yeah, they say especially with those who are dissatisfied with their sex lives. Yeah, that's a sad number. But
Yeah.
the fact that they use the word resigned, that's what makes that super tough.
Because that means they're not trying to change and this is just the way it's going to be.
I get what I get, and I don't throw a fit. I'm sorry, I thought this was America. There's a swingers club in Connecticut that has been ordered to shut it down following a town hall meeting last week. Why would you have to close down a swingers club? Ooh, it's called the Wicked Fun Club,
Ooh.
and it's in Connecticut. That's wicked fun.
You can't park there.
The club is 30 feet away from the Riverside Baptist Church. They were found to
Yeah,
be.
but I mean, during church hours, they're probably not swinging in there.
Yeah,
are they?
if you're swinging at 9:31 on a Sunday morning, I'm trying to think of what time's church start. 9:01.
10. Ours was always 11 to noon. 10 if you had to go to the basement for Sunday school.
The Swingers Club is 30 feet away from the Riverside Baptist Church. They were found to be in violation of zoning regulations that prohibited adult businesses from operating within 1,000 feet of a church or a residential zone. The club owner and his wife argued that the establishment is a private, members-only social club, not an adult entertainment venue. And I think they're right?
That's how they get around it, right? You got to pay a membership due fee.
They say town officials and church members contended that the club's activities fall under the category of adult use. And also they cited the club's own description of consenting adults engaged in adult sexual activities. It says right there on the sign on the front door. Well, this is unfortunate. They say file this one under you don't want to hear it, but you need to. Initially prescribed a drug back in June of 2023 through the telehealth platform HIMS, a fellow began experimenting with the drug and experienced some severe side effects.
I thought they just do like penis and baldness.
That's the baldness drug that he started on. He noticed that it affected his penis. Maybe there was a mix-up at the lab.
That's right.
Maybe like the pills got mushed together.
Yeah.
Unfortunate for his penis, he included impotency, fluctuating libido. I think we all have that.
Yeah.
Some days you're like, hooray! Other days you're like, I gotta get shit done. Insomnia, genital changes.
What is that?
It doesn't specify.
It became angry and moody.
He also had chronic pelvic pain. Despite adjusting his dosage and eventually discontinuing the medication, even when the medicine was gone, his symptoms got worse, leading to significant physical and psychological changes. He became basically impotent, his words.
Did he have hair?
He says that his genitals changed. Luckily, he didn't have any.
Hey, I don't know the guy who's looking back in the mirror anymore.
He didn't give any more of a description as far as what the change was, but other than the fact that the pain in his pelvis made him unable to sit properly. It's not funny, but man, that's funny. He's got to sit with a bit of a lean.
Do those drugs really regrow hair?
I have no idea. Obviously.
Sorry. Oh, okay. Well, I just thought you knew other bald guys who were like, "Yeah, dude, it worked out great."
He said before it was over, he had repeated bouts of days-long insomnia, and his bones creaked.
Jesus.
Out of all the shit that's
It
happening
sounds
to
like
this guy,
it sounds like those potential side effects. He got every last one on the list.
out of all the shit that's happening to this guy, the impotence, the fluctuating libido, the insomnia, the genital changes, I don't know. Maybe they got huge. I don't know. It doesn't say. Actually, if they got huge, he would say. He's like, yeah, I have a huge dong now, thanks to this.
Massive.
I think the bones creaking, that would be the thing that would be most alarming to me. The FDA issued a warning last week by some of the products issued by these telehealth companies, and with good reason. They say the pelvic area is nothing to mess around with, at least not medically. I don't even know what that means either. Go back to that creaking bones bit.
You could feel that going every time you move.
This is unfortunate. A neighborhood has some problems. Some problems with rampant masturbation. This is probably a great neighborhood to live in
How do you
when you're a
cross?
young man.
How do you cross the line from regular to rampant?
Well, I don't know where the dividing line is. Just a
rock-
regular amount of
hey,
masturbation.
Just any time of day, you can hear distant clapping.
Right. Residents near Seattle's Denny Blaine Park have filed a lawsuit against the city, alleging their failure to address an ongoing incident about public decency, including frequent public masturbation. Oh, the name
we're
of
gonna walk somewhere
Hey,
else.
the name of this group is Super Sad. All right, so you got dudes beating off in the park all the time. What I assume is dudes. I don't think you would ever have an epidemic of women doing this ever. This is exclusively dudes. So they got a
You
problem.
don't hear about any female public a she masturbator.
No, you never hear about a woman in a trench coat going and then giving herself the business, right?
Or even usually what you see is a guy gacked out of his mind on drugs beating at the gas station. You never see a woman just, flicking the bean.
So they've got a problem with people beating off in this park. These dudes beating off in this park. So the name of their group is the Denny Blaine Park for All, meaning that the park is now excluding people because of all these dudes beating off. They claim that despite numerous complaints and documented evidence, city officials have done nothing to stop the rampant masturbation.
What are you supposed to do other than run around with a water bottle and squirt at him? Like, get out of here.
They do say the beach, which is known as the unofficial it also has a nude beach, has become a point of contention between neighbors seeking enforcement of the public decency laws and those advocating for the preservations of the park's inclusive atmosphere. City officials have acknowledged the concerns, stated efforts are underway to address the issues while maintaining the park's accessibility. I don't think you really have park accessibility until you're done, till you can put an end to the rampant masturbation. Even if you dedicate like some hours, they're like, all right, from 11 to 2 a.m. it's masturbation park. But the rest of the time, everybody else can come hang out.
Well, then you're going to run into people who are out down there jerking after the designated hours.
Yeah, like right before, you know how line forms?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, there's the dudes waiting so they can come into the park and start jerking off again.
Well, if you wanted a show, you take a stroll there through public masturbating hours. You're like, look at this place go.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure.
Is that a slight breeze I feel?
That's a lot of pressure when you're out playing frisbee golf. And, you know, there's dudes that want to get at that basket. There you go. There's the podcast for this week. As always, thanks for taking some time to check it out.
Sometimes I'll go ride my bike at the park near my house in the middle of the day. And the crossover between midday disc golfers and guys who look like they're there to secretly jerk off, like they're all over there at the same time.
So how do you tell one from the other?
Well, one's playing disc golf, and the other guys are just kind of parking, hanging out in the car they could be eating lunch.
Right.
But there's no way like 15 different cars roll up to all eat lunch in a park.
You love watching birds and eating lunch too.
Yeah.
You love birds and turkey sandwiches.
Yeah. So when I ride my bike, I'm always side-eyeing, like, is that a masturbator over there? Gross. And I keep pedaling.
Circle his car a couple of times.
Hey, I wonder how many laps around it's going to take me before he finishes and leaves.
Oh, I got dizzy. It fell off my bike. Ah.
Each pass I'm closer and I'm like, hey!
Well, thanks for checking out the podcast. Remember, you can stay up to date all things JLNK. And all the links are included. Just head over to jlnkshow.com. We will see you next Tuesday.
Hang on, don't press anything.